Hey there, I'm Monica King, and I want to start today's show with an important question. How are you? Really?
If I hear the word pivot one more time or see another Friends meme about pivoting the couch, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, I think 60% of restaurants are either closed or temporarily closed. It's a lot.
I'm also concerned. I just wonder when we'll be able to travel again. We had to cancel our travel program last year. It's very sad.
Who's lived through this long of a pandemic,
Because I thought COVID would only last for like a month.
It's a question we say, but don't really take the time to check in. So today I ask us to pause on this a bit longer and ask, now that we've been a year in the pandemic, how are you truly doing? Hi, welcome to Dear Workplace by Innovators Box, where I study trends, changes, and challenges with people at work. I'm your host, Monica Kang, and in this first episode, I want to study how the pandemic made us rethink what is normal or possible at work. Let's start with our days. How much of what you do today changed?
Traditional talk therapy, which is someone coming into my office, sitting in my space, or a family coming into my office, and I'm doing direct face-to-face therapy, obviously pre-COVID and post-COVID, right?
Well, first, the pandemic as a leader that touches a lot of youth, it's really stretched us to think innovatively on how we can really address issues in our youth, to keep them engaged, to really keep them engaged in positive activities.
That's my friend Jeannie Chang, a therapist in Raleigh, and Darren Slack, ProAct Indie founder in Indianapolis, who used to do all their work in person. And like them, my world flipped with the pandemic too. As a workplace creativity expert, I used to travel weekly for Innovators Box. Some days, I'll forget which city I was in because I moved 3 time zones in a week. I would plan my months around conferences, client projects, because I truly thought building meaningful relationships and people development needed in-person engagement, and that it wasn't possible to do it online, which is why I didn't even have Zoom until March 2020. Now, I'm humbly amazed at not just how much I can do, but also how deeply we can still connect online when we intentionally foster that space. In fact, I'm now loving how I get to foster deep connections with global participants more easily and accessibly, that I can't wait to continue doing this even after vaccines become more available. And I'm not the only one.
I don't really miss it. I do miss being in the room, but I don't miss having to, get up, have my suitcase with all my props and be in the room and do the setup and then be on my feet all day. I don't miss that travel thing. And I like the fact that I can do short, sharp sessions with more people or in a different environment as well.
That's Jennifer Shinkai, who is an Ikigaya and diversity and inclusion coach and facilitator in Japan, who also serves a global audience and shares how this time permitted her to serve more participants easily.
But I remember, it was the end of February and it was starting in Asia to ramp up a little bit, and clients canceled everything. Wait and see.
And yes, me too. I lost 90% of my projects at the beginning of the pandemic, but now that it's been a year and things are expected to be held online, I'm amazed at how much more people are willing to do meaningful workshops online than ever. And of course, more experts like myself honing the craft to be able to create those offerings. But it's not just there. How we work changed. And if we take a moment to think about it, it's pretty incredible how just a year ago, many of these things we would have not even thought how we can do. Professionalism changed.
I did see a lot more grace with all of our customers and clients and whether it be suppliers, entrepreneurs, or executives in the corporation, is that people started to realize that what was happening and that it wasn't, as Liz said, a 50-50 situation, right? That there was definitely times when I had to be mommy and CEO at the same time, which isn't always so easy, but the work still got done and delivered top quality.
Trying to be in a culture and create a culture and be a positive force in a culture that you want to be in. All these things we've taken for granted, that work has to be from 9 to 5, that you come into an office and a manager looks over your shoulder until you're done with your work and then gives you a performance review. You know, all of those things, like, let's give ourselves permission to rethink what this can look like.
Digitization accelerated.
The pandemic aspect of things, I think, and I see that it only accelerated a process. It didn't change what we were going to be. It just accelerated. In Brazil, we are seeing a high accelerated delivery business growing, and that's why we are launching a startup on this environment. And today we have a market here of delivery food that is approximately about 10 billion reais. It's a big market, it's really big, but only in 2020, it grew from 10 billion to 18 billion, almost 80% growth in 1 year, because people were obliged to stay at home.
And how we imagine how we deliver goods changed for good.
So with COVID, I had mentioned we had been doing catering primarily from 2015 until March 2020. We still do a bit of that. Come COVID, March 2020, we got 100% cancellation of all of our revenue streams, basically catering, within the matter of a couple of days. So within a week, we had to completely reinvent our business or just shutter and go. What we did actually, and knowing, again, we're a team of entirely, refugees and immigrants. Everyone has already built their lives 3-4 times over. So restarting a business from scratch was not necessary. I'm not going to say it was easy, but it wasn't the hardest thing to do. So within a week, we took our best sellers from catering, repackaged them, repurposed them, put them in a box, and we started delivering those boxes directly to our customers' homes versus delivering them as catering set up to their office. I say it as if it were an easy thing, but everything, the whole mechanism changes, right? The delivery infrastructure, the system, the communication channels, the marketing, the sales, everything changes. Even the way we cook, right? The process in cooking. But the team has been such an incredible, adaptable, resilient team that we made it happen. It happened in almost no time, and it's been a very successful pivot. Since then, we've actually been continually continuously growing, and that has been a successful experience on the overall. In a way, it kind of pushed us to a model that might even be better than where we were before.
That's my friend entrepreneurs, Liz Whitehead, Heather Koch, Diego Roger, and Manil Kai in 4 cities in the United States and Brazil. But it's a sentiment that probably everyone in the world resonates with. Change. Some good and some bad, and some bringing a different part of us. I mean, remember, just in 2017, the most talked of video was when Professor Robert E. Kelly was interrupted by her daughter during a live CNN interview about South Koreans' political upheaval. The world applauded and empathized at how he navigated an almost quote unprofessional moment. But today, it happens all the time, and it's important to us. Why do we even think it was unprofessional to recognize that we have a life outside of work?
Because that's not the way we're wired. As human beings, we're wired to work collectively and to work communally, to look at each other, to smile at each other, to care about each other. And there's so much that's happening right now. I mean, everyone's like, what's wrong? I'm having all these crazy physical responses to what's happening. It's like, no. Dr. Gabor Mate has a really powerful quote where he says, we are having very normal responses to very abnormal situations. And there's been so much that we've normalized that's abnormal, even and especially in like our work culture. Like working 80 hours a week is not normal. And so when people are like, why can't I do it? Why am I having, stress? Why can't I sleep? It's because it's not normal. I'm sorry to anyone who I'm offending out there who's like, this is normal, but maybe it's not. Just consider that as a possibility. And what does your system really need in its highest and greatest truth in your strongest alignment to thrive, to heal, to be connected, to move in like a rhythm that is yours and not what you are told you have to move at, not valuing what society culture says is important and how you should be, but what you actually want.
Ivy Kwong is a therapist in Seattle, and she raises a great point here. We have built up all these notions of what is normal at work, and the pandemic has become a great opportunity for us to ask, what is normal, and why have we thought it was normal? Taking a 2-hour commute, as she said, an 80-hour work week, starting 9 to 5, and not having a flexible schedule. As challenging this past year has been, I hope that we also don't lose the chance to keep some of the good changes we are seeing.
I think this has also really made us focus in an important way on our duty of care to our organization, to our staff, and to our stakeholders. We recently, for example, just signed up to something called LifeWorks, which is an online kind of wellness program for all of our staff everywhere. It's available 24/7. It has tons of resources. But of course, there are challenges. Keeping the culture alive, keeping the momentum up in these times is really difficult. So we're trying to find new ways to do that. We now set up kind of wellness email newsletters within the organization every couple of weeks. We're having a lot more intentional meetings of different people within the organization and team meetings, and just trying to connect to each other in all sorts of new ways virtually, which are challenging. And I think that's the elements of all of this that no one seems to have quite worked out. How do you recreate the magic of in-person?
That's my friend Blair Glencourse from Accountability Lab, who has a nonprofit of 120 employees in 13 countries, serving thousands of lives. He's someone I know who's always been ahead of the curve in how he supports his team. But it's super exciting how this time made him to decide to focus on mental well-being as we rethink what is normal at work. So for today's insight, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. How has what you thought was normal changed during the pandemic, and for good? While we still have a lot of learning and challenges to navigate, how can we ensure we walk away with the good lessons we learned? So I ask you again, how are you? And how are you rethinking what is possible at work? Before we simply say, I can't wait to get back to the office or live post-pandemic life, what is one thing we can appreciate more from this time that we should cherish? Thank you for listening to Dear Workplace by Innovator Response. I'm your host, Monica King. If you enjoyed today's show, I would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. And this is brought to you by my talented team, Siren O, our creative producers, Sam Lement and Ravi Lad, our audio engineers, Arkriti Pandey, our web designer and her team, Monica Escobar, our graphic designer, and Luke Helder, our music composer, and Kelly Graffel, our intern. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon again. This is Monica King.